Hello and welcome back to Lord of Heroes News here on Nyris Gaming, where I read the game news so you don't have to. Oh boy, do we have a lot to get to today, given, it's the 5th anniversary of the game, a ton of new content, and it's still going strong by the look of it, so here's hoping to another 5 years. But anyways, let us get into the mountain of details. The anniversary update is going to be on March 19th. We will be getting 3 new heroes, the first of which is a highly anticipated hero for pretty much the entire duration of the game, although not quite in the way that we thought. It's going to be Light Striker Prince Kartis, which as far as I can tell is past Kartis, not the one you encounter in the normal story and going forward. Given Lambda and Mu are data terminals, they all have different designations, so this is the same character as Mu technically, but this is our first alternatively named character. She's going to be a Dark Sniper. And lastly, Water Cleric Cesaire, who I was not expecting. Getting her is going to be a little bit annoying, but not anywhere near as annoying as previous years. Only one of these heroes is a featured summon, that being Kartis, his banner running from the update day through May 1st, so about a month and a half. The way they are going with adding new story stages is there are going to be past records to go through. By the look of this, we have Prince Kartis, Lambda there. As far as I can tell, that kind of looks like Fire Prince Kartis. I'm not entirely certain who the other two are. The one in the bottom left looks to be wearing Avalonian garb, though, so potentially some teasers as to future characters as well in this. There will be a new records button next to Mu on the main page. Chapter 1 of Kartis's record will be at the update day, then Chapter 2 on the 26th, and Chapter 3 on the 2nd of April. A bunch more story stages to go through now, completing which will reward you with memory fragments, which you can meld into memory charms. These will be equipable on specific classes of characters. They have not disclosed what they do yet, other than passive abilities. They can also be tiered up via gold and more memory fragments. Spending enough energy on these stages will also reward you with a record box, which will give you a selection of memory fragments. There will be a new summon feature called Fate Link. The currency for this you will get via the link shop called Link Cubes. The 2 characters accessible on this and their relics are going to be Dark Lambda and Light Mu. Their summon progress will be tracked separately. And of course, for duplicates of both the relics and the heroes will give you aptitudes and tier up experience. As far as I can tell, the 1,000-day contract to acquire Mu that we already have will still be in place. Nothing I read indicated that it's going away. Mu is getting her Ascension levels added, so she's not just automatically Ascension 2 and that's her only form. If you're already mid-contract by this time, once you finish that 1,000-day contract, you'll be given the Ascension materials to reach her to level 2. And if you manage to get her in the Fate Link before you finish that contract, you'll also be getting a duplicate and therefore an aptitude. The hero page UI is getting a new look for the first time pretty much since the game came out. It appears there's going to be far more details readily accessible straight from the hero selection page, and it just looks cleaner overall. With this new UI on the progression page by the look of that icon, this page will display the total stats that the character has, so you don't need to do the addition yourself. Because I highly doubt he has 42,000 base HP and 3,200 base attack. So just a more straightforward approach to the details on the page. You'll also be able to access the Memory Charm tab here. There's also going to be a grid selection system you can access, where you can filter by Ascension and recruitment status. I just wish you could filter via debuffs or buffs, because I'm making a full-on spreadsheet for that for the debuff and buff videos I'm going to be making in the future, because filtering for those is not possible within the game. Fire Warrior Ricardo is going to be added to the Link Summon banner. He is also getting reworked, as many new Link Summon editions do. There will be new relics for Fire Ricardo on the Link Summon banner, and Mu Light in the Fate Link banner, and Water 9... I'm not sure where his relics are going to be. He is an Alliance credit hero, one of 2, who never gets used, but he's getting completely reworked. Speaking of balance adjustments, we have Fire Ricardo, Light Mu, Water Lyrae, and Water 9. I made sure this time to go through both of the before and afters and write things down. Fire Ricardo's 1 is going to have a higher base attack down chance. Up from 80, it will now start at 90%, with also the addition of applying a stack of Hunter's Mark on counterattacking. His 2 used to give the highest attack ally and himself attack and crit rate up. Now it is the highest attack ally and fire elemental allies. and will inflict 2 stacks of Hunter's Mark on Earth targets. as an AoE attack. Lastly, on his 3, the damage he gets per buff goes up from a measly 15% all the way to 70, capping at 420%, and another 75% more damage for every stack of Hunter's Mark on the target, capping at 300. I can definitely see him becoming a far more viable fire DPS after this. Mew's changes are simple. Her 1 is going to gain user's max health base damage. Her 2 is going to gain the same, but it is also going to generate a shield for light elemental allies based on her max HP for 3 turns. So she is in heavy competition with Light Siegfried now, given they are both max HP based damage dealers and healers and shielders. Water Sniper Lyrae is only going to get changes to her 3, but they're going to be high in number. A lot of these things are not in red text, but her base debuff removal chance is going to go up from 90 to 100%. The base number of debuffs removed is going to go up from 2 to 3 by the look of it. That was a level before. She's going to get additionally 300% more damage against fire enemies, give critical hit damage to water elemental allies for 2 turns, and gain 2 spirit when she uses this. If this stays the same, her burst is 2 spirit at max rank, so it effectively refunds the spirit it uses, and if you're using this in the Alliance raid with at least 3 burst slots active, that will reduce the cost down to 1, therefore gaining 1 spirit for using a burst, which feels very weird, but an interesting new strategy they've started introducing now with 2 characters. Also means that in places like the Alliance raid, you can activate her as a burst slot, and she will not take away from the spirit gauge that your DPSs need. Now on to the heavy rework. Water 9 is basically a completely different character after all this. His 1 is a single target attack that used to give an attack-based shield, but that is gone now. Now it inflicts a stack of Hunter's Mark and gives him Berserk upon counter-attacking. However, he appears to have the weakest Berserk in the game. Hopefully the potency of that goes up with levels, because Berserk by default is 30%, and this one starts at 10 per stack. His 2 is an AoE attack that used to provoke, but no longer does. Now it gains up to 200% more damage for fewer targets, 50% more damage per Hunter's Mark on the target, up to 200% max, capping at 4 stacks. Automatically triggers Flurry to fire off his 1, and fills the action gauge of water allies by 30%. Not the most potent AG boost, especially compared to the likes of like Crom, but it's another free-to-play action gauge booster, accessible via the Alliance shop. His burst is an AoE attack that used to heal based on the damage dealt, but it no longer heals. It now gains up to 300% more damage when there are fewer targets, 65% more damage per stack of Hunter's Mark up to 260 max, capping at 4 just like his 2, and automatically triggers Flurry 1 time. Effectively, you can use his 2 and 3 to gain his Hunter's Mark stacks, and after 4 turns, he will be at his maximum damage potential. I will have to experiment to see if he's actually viable as a DPS though, given at this point in the game's history he has been effectively forgotten, much like Zyra alongside him in the Alliance shop. Hopefully she gets a bit of a buff in the future. Now on to this event that happens every year. We have the Inviting Friends event for charity. This is how you will access Water Cesaire. This will run from March 19th to June 19th, so 3 months you have to do this. You will have an invite code on the event page that you can give to people that are either new or returning. To be returning, they have to have not been active for an entire month prior to March 19th. They will then enter your invite code on their event page, and once they complete their missions, you will both get donation points. For new players, the mission will be to reach Lord level 5, which you can do by progressing your heroes and or recruiting heroes. There are many heroes recruitable by crystals early on, as well as the free Link Summon one that they hand you early on. Returning players will have to battle 10 times in the Alliance raids, which will take 5 days, given you get 2 attempts per day. You also, of course, have to be in an Alliance. Each mission completed will give you 121 donation points, and the rewards are as follows. Wonderfully, you only have to invite 1 friend and have them complete that mission to get Water Cesaire immediately. Just the first one. I think this is the easiest this has been. After 2 friends, you get 3 Mystic Soul Stones. After 3, you get a Friendly Knight's Pledge, which will allow you to recruit any of the prior or current invite heroes, which include Water Cesaire, Light Lyn, Water Lyrae, and Water Johann. And of course, if you already have those, you can get aptitudes for them. 4 friends will net you another 3 Mystic Soul Stones, and 5 will give you another Knight's Pledge. Another Showdown event, like the Fram and Johann one against the Mystic Beast that we had recently, will be coming on March 19th through the 1st of April. This one will be Rowan and Mew, with Light and Earth enemies. You have to be in an Alliance for this. And the reward track is granted based on number of total takedowns of Mystic Beasts by everyone in the Alliance total. The Mystic Beasts you fight will get higher in level the more you take them down. Albeit they did nerf them heavily, so it doesn't take more than 4 attempts to take out any singular Mystic Beast. And the reward tracks are not as extensive, so they are easier to get to at lower takedown levels. The reward tracks include things like Dark and Fire Soulstone Fragments, Elixirs, Gold, Contract and Link Summon tickets, Renown, and Primeval and Mystic Soulstone Fragments. Mew and Rowan are going to be getting their Avalon Knight outfits. These will be available from March 19th to April 16th, with Rowan's artwork there and Mew's there. There will be new battle passes with free reward tracks for the Kartis Records stages. This will be permanent after maintenance. The Invite a Friend Festival through June 22nd after maintenance. The Showdown event through April 16th after maintenance. The Showdown event through April 16th after maintenance. Prince Kartis through May 1st after maintenance. Rowan and Mew through the 16th alongside the Showdown Pass. There are those tickets right there. And there's Mew's, so there will be 2 tracks of tickets. Looks like the premium one also gets you the outfits. Now for some free gifts. On Maintenance Day for Kartis's gift through April 1st, you can get 500 crystals and 50k gold. Same time period for Ricardo's, 50 elixirs of insight and 50k gold. Through to April 16th, you can get 500 crystals and 50k gold for Mew's. And the same for Lambda's. Last free thing will be through the 16th as well. The 5th anniversary pack for 50 link stones, which sadly is only 1 pull, but 5 relic tickets and 250 crystals. One more thing for free things before we get into the new heroes. If you haven't already, there are 5th anniversary coupons. To enter coupons, if you don't know, you go to the setting tab in the top left, to the support tab, and enter a code here. You have until April 30th to enter all of these, and you very, very much want to. Raven Lambda will give you 10 Link Summon tickets, 10 Contract tickets, 1k Renown, and 1 million gold. Director Poem will give you 10 more Link Summon tickets, 150 elixirs, 1 Mystic Soulstone. Happy 5th will be 555 Link Stones, 20 Featured Relic Summon tickets, 20 Alchemy tickets. And 5th with Lord will give you 500 Link Stones, 300 elixirs, 1 Mystic Soulstone, and 1 Primeval. They are quite generous on anniversaries. Now we finally take a dive into the details of the new heroes, some of which we will have to look into the relics and adjusted level ups on update day. First one is going to be our Invite Water Cleric Cesaire. Based on her stats alone, you can already probably guess what she is. She is very much a HP-based cleric, like most these days. Her 1 is going to be a single target attack that reduces the speed of the target and scales with her max HP. Her 2 starts at a 4-turn cooldown, going all the way down to 2, another lovely every other turn ability. If paired with Waterlin, this is every turn. Or, something else in here, this is an AoE attack, damage scales with her max HP, heals all allies based on her max HP, generates a shield for all allies based on her max HP, up 1 turn if they are water, and reduces her skill cooldown by 1 if she's under the effects of Reflect, which she gains from her burst. Her burst starts at a spirit cost of 4, but gets all the way down to 2. It is an AoE attack that deals 300% more damage against fire enemies, scales with her max health, grants her Reflect for 2 turns, and fills the action gauge of water elemental allies by 40%, so she is also an action gauge booster. She seems pretty straightforward, and will likely be quite effective like most health shielders. On top of the fact that she can action gauge boost and deal damage based on her max health, I am looking forward to experimenting with how heavy she can hit. Passes her crit rate and fire damage. Her default relic is going to give her an increase of speed, which is a nice viable default relic option. Her Refined is going to trigger the following effects with the ally with the highest attack. When she attacks, if that ally is water, will have a chance to increase the skill cooldown of that ally, much like Dark Fram, and also have a chance to increase their attack for up to 2 turns. I can see this working quite nicely with the likes of Dragon Knight Helga. I see it not working quite as well with Water Mikhail, given his primary damage, I believe, is with his 2. So increasing the cooldown of that is not going to be terribly helpful. Otherwise, her Divine Relic is straight up damage against fire elemental enemies, if you're going for a full 4 HP 2 crit damage build, which with this I could see working out decently. Next up is Dark Sniper Lambda. Decently high attack and decently good health and defense. She is primarily, by the looks of it, a action gauge booster and debuffer, but can do damage based on what she has. Seems like pretty much everyone is capable of doing hefty damage these days. Her 1, single target attack, a small chance to extend the duration of all debuffs on the target. Almost every other debuff extension is 1 or 2, but if they're light elemental, it gets all the way up to 100%. Very good for exposed weakness builds. Her 2 is an AoE attack, fills the action gauge of all allies by upwards of 40%, and increases her crit rate by 20%, stacking 3 times, then grants her battle stance for 1 turn if there are 3 or more stacks of crit rate. Battle stance will silence her active ability, her 2, this one, but give 100% more damage when using the burst skill. It does not trigger if the burst skill is not available. This is a new buff, exclusive to her at the moment. Also, the thing to note with this one, primarily, is the cooldown of 1 turn by default. Effectively, she gets 3 turns straight of action gauge boosting, and then she gets to blow up with her burst, which has a default spirit cost of 2, AoE attack, and gains bonuses if she has battle stance, deals up to 1400% more damage when there are fewer targets, 100% chance to inflict elemental weakness and shadow vines on all light enemies for upwards of 7 turns, then removes her stacks of crit rate so she can start ramping up with her action gauge boosting ability again. Shadow vines is the dark version of the thorny vines that we got for Earth before. On Earth Beretta will give 7% more damage taken by dark elemental enemies, up to 35% based on the number of dark enemies on the team, as well as another access to elemental weakness. I can see Dark Lambda being very, very highly effective, not to mention the fact that if you're winding up with her 2, that extra 60% crit chance, you will only need to build upwards of 40% or even 25% if she's elementally advantaged, and use those substats for other things. Her passives are crit damage and light damage. Base Relic is going to be an attack increase. Refined will be straight increased damage to light enemies. Divine will be an increased damage to light enemies by a much smaller amount than the Refined. However, it will have an upwards of 80% chance to inflict exposed weakness on each light elemental enemy respectively for 2 turns. This is nice because Dark does not have access to AoE exposed weakness, and by the look of it, even her single target attacks will have a chance to inflict it in an AoE. Currently we have Arcanath and Sifried, but I believe those are both on their 1s, and those are both single target. You do have access to Fire Lumi for AoE exposed weakness universally, but if you're needing to run a full Dark team, especially if you are wanting to take the most advantage of Shadowy Vines, this will likely be a very helpful option. Lastly is our past form Light Striker Kartis. All of these units have had approximately the same speed. He has pretty good attack and health and defense again at level 70, and he is going to be a speed-based striker, and kind of feels like he's here to replace Light Suzaku if you didn't get him, because he is very similar in a lot of ways. His 1 is going to be his only single target, damage increases based on speed, and fills his action gauge. His 2 is going to be a cooldown of 3, AoE attack, damage increasing with speed, stacks his attack by upwards of 30% per stack, gains 1 additional stack for every warrior ally in stacking up to 15 times, and gains an extra turn, so this is effectively an every other turn ability. That is an extra increase of 450% attack. His burst starts at 4 spirit and goes down all the way to 2. AoE attack, damage increasing with speed, deals up to 400% more damage when there are fewer targets, and fills his action gauge by half. He is fast, gets a hefty amount of attack, and just hits a lot and hits hard by the sound of it. Passives are going to be attack and dark damage. I'm shocked that's not speed. Base Relic is going to increase defense, interestingly. Refined is going to give him upwards of 100% chance to heal based on his damage dealt when attacking, and increase damage against dark elemental enemies. And his Divine will be an even further increase in damage to dark enemies. And finally, after all of that, geez, that was a nearly 45-minute recording. Anniversary updates. Lots going on. Understandable, but my word. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. What is your favorite upcoming thing? Who are you most excited to summon for? Like if you liked, subscribe for more in the future. Join me on my gaming live streams on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays at Mountain Standard Time if you're so inclined, and I shall see you in the next one.